Hey everyone, welcome back to another Team Fortress 2 commentary. Now, as for this video, I decided to do something that's extremely personal and dear to me. What got me interested into TF2? So basically, I'm going to be going back through my entire history of TF2 from the first day I downloaded it to right now. Of course, this is going to be based on my memory, so I apologize if events are slightly off or just aren't as clear as you would have liked. But hey, that's how memories work, man. I'm sorry. And with not a word more, let's dive into my history with TF2. So originally my friend, Tyler, or Jump and Shoot Man as he was called at the time, introduced me to the concept of Team Fortress 2. Now before he did this, I wasn't really a PC gamer. Like, I played a little bit of World of Warcraft and maybe some browser games, but I had no idea Steam was even a thing. Anyways, he tells me about TF2 and shows me some footage of it. Eventually he convinces me to try it out, and I download Steam solely for the purpose of TF2. I didn't even realize you could play other games on there, but nonetheless. And my first ever play session was interesting to say the very least. It was one of those Achievement Idle off servers. You guys remember those? And like 99.9% of new players, I played as the Spy. Obviously I don't remember all too much about this as it was my first time ever playing Team Fortress 2, but I do remember having a very strong distaste for it. I just got very upset with it, and then eventually I deleted it and uninstalled Steam entirely off my computer. At least until January. So yeah, I had Steam uninstalled for a bundle of months. I entirely glazed over what would have been my first Halloween event and my first Christmas event. If I had to guess, I think it was the events of 2012, but it might have been 2013. Either way, that's not really that important. What is the main focal point here? For some bizarre reason, I re-downloaded TF2 in like mid-January. For no reason whatsoever, I just was like, yeah, I'm gonna download this. And to start off, I decided to play a lot of community maps. I played a ton of those surfing maps, you guys remember those? And I played a lot of the Minecraft maps. I actually didn't even realize there was an actual game inside of TF2. I kinda just thought it was like Gmod, which I did enjoy for a pretty long time. I was never really part of any community, and I seldomly communicated through voice or chat, but that brings me to my first and my most impactful encounter. The first community I fit in with. It's kinda sad to think about actually, when I reflect on this. Now barren and empty, servers shut down, and familiar names but a distant memory, Black Market Trade Alley resonates in the furthest corner of my mind for this purpose. This Black Market Trade server was the first community I ever really joined online. I do remember some vague experiences, like when I was a mod? And of course, how could I forget the annual Christmas version of the map? I know it was a trade server, but I never really got into trading. I more or less just walked around on the server and DM'd everyone. Not DM'd as in like direct message, but DM as in like deathmatch. Now, this isn't all that important of a bookmark in my history with the game, because still up to this point I doubt I even knew there was a main TF2 game available, but this was important as it was the first time I ever really interacted with any sort of community. I can even still remember a few of the names, like Resin and Ghost _. Now, Resin, I believe he was the owner of the server, but I'm not really too sure. Either way, he was someone that you listened to, no matter what he said. And that's all I really remember about the guy. I don't know if he was a good or bad person in general, but I just remember his name and the fact that he was a well-respected individual. As for Ghost _, that was me. Yeah, I know, it's cringy as fuck, but I'm not just mentioning this because I want to embarrass myself. The name Ghost _ actually reveals a little bit about myself at the time. Like most of my content now, it's completely unoriginal and stupid. Which, for all you youngsters out there, the name Ghost _ is clearly a play off of Star _, which was an extremely popular TF2 YouTuber at the time. So based off this, I must have been a big Star fan back in the day. And really fucking edgy. So I'll level with you guys. I don't really remember much about this guy nor this server. I just remember it being a Minecraft Realm server, and I spent way too much time on. I don't remember why I joined this, I don't remember what happened to the trade alley, I just remember I started to play on the server a lot. Perhaps I was a mod or something there, honest to god I can't remember. But I do remember the name Banana Shoes. And I specifically remember I really fucking hated this guy, like with a deep-rooted passion. Now, as for why I hated him, I don't really remember, so I don't hate him anymore if you're wondering. But I do recall him being the first ever punk-ass scout main I met. He always wore lime green or pink and constantly bragged about his backpack. And if you're wondering, I'm sure his name is not Banana Shoes anymore, so when I throw all this shade around, I'm sure he's not going to find it. Anyway, this guy was the first time I ever really met that generic douchebag scout character. And god, I hate those people. Anyways, this was the first time I really started to understand the stigmas around certain items, classes, and cosmetics. I stopped wearing the gibbous because I realized you look like an idiot when you wear the gibbous. I was becoming a non-free-to-play. And then I left. If you're gonna ask, well, why did you do something so stupid, Ryder? You were just getting into the game. Well, I'm almost positive it had something to do with that server. Perhaps I got banned or something. But regardless, I unfriended most of the people I knew, sold all my items, and uninstalled TF2 for a pretty long time. And like clockwork, I came back. Again, I'm not entirely certain why I came back. Probably something with wanting to fit in and belong in a community again. Anyways, when I came back, all I wanted to do was find my old pals. The people I used to talk to and the servers I used to frequent. So I went on this quest of sorts to find these long-lost friends. So I was hopping server to server, searching for these people joining in, asking if they remember anyone named X, Y, or Z. And somehow, this led me to my first profitable TF2 endeavor. Professional boxing. Now, I wasn't actually a professional boxer, but heavy boxing actually was a huge part of how I made my money off TF2. I would set it up kind of like a spy crabbing event, where I'd say, boxing for 1 key. And then if someone took me up, it'd be the winner of 3 rounds. So whoever got 2 wins first would take the pot. I did pretty well, actually, to the point of building a small reputation based around this. If you're wondering how I did this, it was really just luck and random crits. But somehow, some way, I ended up turning a profit out of this. All the while I was searching for people I once knew, I was making some money, which I then started to use to deck out my loadouts. I actually started to get really obsessed with how my characters looked and the way they presented themselves. Which was another thing to remark. At this point in time, I seldomly played heavy. I know what you're saying, wait, you're a professional heavy boxer, but you don't play heavy. I played them only for the boxing purposes, and that was it. In fact, if anything, I think I was either a scout or soldier main at the time. But pinpointing my exact main at this time would be borderline impossible, as each week I mained someone entirely different. But I think on average, soldier and scout were the 2 classes I played quite often during this time. Eventually, I stumbled my way into a trade server that was 24/7 Minecraft Neon Heights, and I don't really know what it was about the place, but for some reason that's the server I resided at. I gave up trying to find my old friends, and I decided to make new ones with this server. I think I even became a mod at some point, but again, I'm sorry, I don't remember. I just recall being on the server every time I booted up TF2. I'm not exaggerating about that. I became pretty close friends with a lot of people from the server, some of which I'm still in touch with to this day. However, at the moment of recording this, only 3 names come to mind. Ampersand, who was the owner of the server with the most expensive backpack I ever laid eyes on, Starry Crow, who was a spy main with a pretty rich backpack, and then Green Monster, who was the first heavy main I ever really started to talk to. These 3 guys were pretty cool cats as far as I can remember, although to them I was always looked at as the kid in the server. Didn't really have any responsibilities and no one really expected much out of me. Hell, this server was the first time I originally coined the Rydercycle name with the first ever depiction of the character. Now this place kinda served as a transition from my edgy younger self to my equally edgy, slightly older self. Anyways, where was I? Ah, right. So this server had a lot of rich people on it, and like 99.9% of the people who play TF2, I grew thick with jealousy and wanted to get my own collection of riches. I actually got a bit of a theory as to why TF2 isn't free to play, and it never will be, that kind of revolves around a similar topic of this, but that's for another day. So, like most people, I decided to get into the unusual trading business. Before we get into this, I just want to address how I made my money, like actual money. No, I didn't scam anyone, and no, I didn't unbox anything. I started off with 1 Manco key, and over the course of a year, traded my way up to 100+ keys. At this time, there was a ton of misunderstandings with the price of killstreak kits, and killstreaks in general, which, reflecting on this, I think that's what allowed me to break the bank with this one. But who knows, perhaps I was just lucky. Now, I'm sure you're saying, okay Master Ryder, fucking narcissist, how did you, of all people, make so much virtual money? Well, let me just give you one pro tip. Selling for overpaying items only. This phrase, overpaying items, is just pure profit. For most people, they want pure because it's easier to get rid of. But if you have the time, this phrase will make you money. You buy in overpaying items. and then you sell for either pure or more overpay. It may sound kinda weird on a mic. Selling 1 key for overpaying items only. Like the fuck, bro? You stupid or something? But it actually is a great way to make money. Again, I know it's weird, but for some reason, the overpaying items is acceptable even though it roughly translates to pay me more money for your convenience. Either way, if you have the time to do this, it will generate you a fuck ton. It's simple economics. Buy low, sell high. This is how I made most of my money. But none of that is the really incredibly important part. The real takeaway is that eventually I got up to 100 plus key spy unusual. I forget exactly what it was. It might have been a fancy fedora of some sort, or perhaps a hat of cards. I don't really remember. But I sold it on an incredibly risky trade. I sold it for this one-of-one, unpriced heavy unusual. The Time Warp Safeguard, that most of you hopefully recognize. At this point, I was getting the idea of starting a TF2 YouTube channel, and I realized if I had this one-of-one iconic hat and managed to get popular, the price of it would skyrocket. I actually kind of stole this idea from Uncle Dane's The Danger, which has the Miami Nights effect, and that hat with that effect I don't think looks that good, and it really shouldn't be as priced as high as it is, at least compared to other effects of that same hat. But due to the fact it's the Uncle Dane hat, it jumps up in price. I wanted to do a similar thing with the Time Warp Safeguard. Not to mention, any sort of branding would be that much easier and all. But yeah, that's the real reason of why I got that hat, and actually the reason I started to main heavy. So yeah, going back a little bit, all the while I was trading up, I kind of had this hub server that I returned to, Whitewall, which was the place I just hung out when I wasn't busy making money. But eventually that server came to a close a little bit after I became a full-on heavy main. The reason as to why it had to close is a little bit depressing, so heads up. The owner of the server, Ampersand, got diagnosed with cancer. He never really wanted to talk about it, so I have no idea what it was. I do remember he said something about in order to pay for his treatments, he had to sell all his TF2 items for money, and of course he could no longer pay to keep the server up. Which kinda sucks, but that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was that he removed everyone on Steam except for a bundle of people because he didn't want anyone to worry about him, and left the group. I still haven't heard from him since, so perhaps he's alive and well, but honestly I doubt I'll ever find out. So with the server shut down and the YouTube channel just about to take off, I decided I should just play some actual TF2. At this point in time, I started to play more and more Valve-made official servers. I didn't just stick to one particular community, and I kind of just browsed around. It was kind of weird transitioning out of all these communities to just be a wanderer who just plays the game, but that's what I am now, and I'm very accustomed to that. At the time, it was very bizarre. But eventually, I worked my way up to be a pretty good heavy main, and I decided to start making tutorials on a class that I just started to main earlier that year. Along the way, and really early into my channel, I met a kid named Rhythm who offered to help me make some SFM content, because I had no idea how to do that stuff. We quickly became friends, and he made some of SFM work that you might remember. Hopefully not, because we were both not all that talented at the time. Don't look at it, take your eyes off the screen, ouch. Anyways, we quickly became friends, and shortly thereafter, he invited me into his UGC Highlander team. So this was my first and only time playing competitive. I told you, I'm not a talented individual. Why do you people listen to me? Anyway, I joined this little ragtag Highlander team named Gaben's Tax Collectors. It was more like a group of friends who just played competitive together. It wasn't really all that serious. I didn't play a second season because people kind of left and disbanded, and I thought it was just too much unneeded stress. But nonetheless, I did enjoy my short time playing as the lead heavy in this Highlander team. It really helped me improve as a heavy player, which coincidentally helped me make better tutorials at the time. Which, if you're wondering, we played in Steel. I was a Steel heavy main, and I made tutorials that got thousands upon thousands of views. People listen to me. What? How? What? Which, funny enough, as I got more popular with YouTube, I started to grow more distant from this group to focus on my work. Alright, so now we're starting to get into the current day, but I want to briefly describe my TF2 YouTube experience to you guys. At first, it started off with me just being a loner. I made my own content, didn't really talk to anyone. Hell, I didn't even have a Twitter at the time. But eventually Timo the Scientist invited me into this little Discord private group for TF2 YouTubers. It was called the TF2 Tavern, which was nice, being back in a community. I always like being a part of something. Anyways, I met a ton of great people there, like GameCam, who's still one of my best buds. And I was there for a pretty long time. I believe I even joined that one, God, what was it, Blapture? Yeah, Blapture Co., which I have no idea how that's doing. But I remember I joined that after this. And then I left both after I quit. Yeah, by the way, in case you don't remember that, I did quit TF2. I'm back now-ish, kind of. I mean, it's not the same, but I'm back now. Originally, I made TF2 videos because that's the game I enjoyed playing, but after the Meet Your Match update, it kinda just started to drain away, which left me with this boring, mindless, undesirable task that I was forced to do each and every week. And then I said, yeah, screw that, I can go out on my own. I can do it, I can build it up again. And like I said, I quit TF2. Now, present day. I am back into TF2, although I seldomly play it now. I wouldn't say I enjoy the particular state of it, but I can respect the memories it's built inside of me, and Rydercycle as a concept. So I will sometimes play it out of nothing but nostalgia. Sometimes I do really just want to play Team Fortress 2, in which case I will. But for the most part, I prefer games like Overwatch or Hotline Miami. I have established this rule that I do not want to force myself to play TF2 any longer, which I hope you can respect. But if you're unsatisfied with this and demand that I play it more, you are totally welcome to voice your grievance with me in the comments below. But as for the rest of you who can understand that I'm a human and have varying interests, I hope this video was somewhat entertaining. The rest of you guys can go suck a lemon, but you guys that understand them in person, and I've had a long time playing TF2, and I've done many things, and I'm not that experienced, and I suck in every way, you guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it was just me talking about myself, so obviously it's not the coolest thing, but I figured it's a deeply personal topic, and it seems somewhat fitting to share with you at this time of year. Which actually reminds me, I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. If you have any questions or would like to rekindle with me, or just even meet me for the first time, I do have a very public Discord server that should be in the description below. I'm pretty much always on there. I don't sleep, not anymore. But as always, have a swell day. Peace out.